She's known as the Queen of Christian Fiction. With over 25 million books in print and millions of fans around the world, Karen Kingsbury lives up to the title. Some of her heartwarming stories have even been adapted to the big screen. Karen's latest book, A Baxter Family Christmas, focuses around her most popular characters, the Baxters, as they come together after tragedy and witness a Christmas miracle.
Karen joins us now. Wow, what a history you have in this crazy book business, because it is a little crazy. But it's like God has just given you an anointing that brings forth prolific production, can I just say. Did you ever think when you wrote your first book that it would come to this?
When I would pray about it, I felt like I could see tables with stacks of books.
Really?
Like God was saying, this is going to touch culture. It's going to change culture. And I just had to be faithful. I couldn't focus on that. I couldn't will it. I just had to let it be all him. And honestly, I feel like the first reader. So when I'm writing, it's just like a movie in my head
that
crazy. God's put there. And I just feel like I get a chance to download that onto my laptop, and then you get to read it.
Wow, that is amazing. You have brought to life the Baxter family. And I hear that it's patterned after your own family. Was your own family really like that?
Well, the Baxters have a best friend family called the Flanagans, and they are shamelessly us. Like they really are. Like they have, Jenny and Jim, they are the parents, and they have 6 kids. 3 are adopted from Haiti. And so very much, our family. And so the Baxters, when they have funny moments, there are funny moments. They came from our family. When they have tender traditions or ways of resolving conflict, even, that came from us. But the Flanagans really are us. And except for their conflicts really are fictional. Because I kind of told my family, once the Flanagans, yeah, exactly. Once the Flanagans began to kind of take more center stage, and we wanted to know more about them, I said, "Don't worry, I'm never going to put our real heartaches or whatnot into a fiction."
So where do your story ideas come from?
Well, sometimes they always come from God. He gets all the credit for sure. But I might be at an airport and witness, a heartbreaking scene between a father and a son. And one time I saw this where the father was saying goodbye to his little son. Obviously, it was a divorce situation where the little boy was going home after a summer visit. Stepmom was sort of there but detached, sitting off to the side. And the dad was stoic until the little boy, who was crying, until he got on the plane. And then the father literally, with everyone watching, turned to the wall, just put like his arm up and wept. Wept. And I thought, so then that ignites something in me. And I think in addition to writing, God's given me this blessing of empathy.
I was just going to say, you talk about the wife being detached, but how do you enter into someone's pain like that?
Right, and in that case, I didn't talk to him, but I did talk to, on the other side, because the little boy was on my flight. And at the other end, once we got to Portland, where we lived at the time, the woman who picked him up was welcoming him off the plane, and she was so tender-hearted, and I told her what I saw. And she got tears in her eyes, and she said, "He left us."
Wow.
And I thought, just the heartache of their situation. So that works its way into my books. And choices. That love is a decision. It's a decision to stay and to, make this honoring to God. And then you'll find joy in that too. I've had some crazy funny letters as well, like from people where they'll sometimes write and say, "Your characters are so great." One woman said, "I feel like God's telling me to leave my husband because my husband's not like your characters." I thought, oh my goodness, that's not what God is telling
Let me write
you.
back quickly.
Yeah, so I wrote back quickly and I said, why don't you build your husband up? Why don't you try some of the things the Baxters do to save their relationships and make them better? And they ended up staying married and having more kids. And so, the Baxter family has become a real teaching tool for lives. It has.
Yeah. You have a wonderful opportunity coming up with Roma Downey and her husband, Mark. Tell us what's going on.
Well, about 2 years ago, Roma called and she said, "I'm reading the Baxter family." At that point, she was in Redemption, so the very first book, and had moved on to the second book, and she was loving them. And she called and said, "I'd like your blessing to turn the Baxter family into a classic television series for everyone to know."
Wow.
And we began to be not only, working together, but friends. And this last summer, I got a chance to spend a couple different days where I would just hang out at her house. We would have lunch together and just pray over the Baxter family. She is so excited to keep them who they are, because they don't know they're about to be famous, you know.
I love what they're doing, that they're planning a network that's going to feature family-friendly, faith-based stories. I mean, what a boon to the Christian community.
Well, we need it, and it will be a source for original content as well. So they've got some great content that's been part of the MGM library, but they also have some great opportunities, as do all of us who write Christian books and stories. Because, you know, a lot of the networks, though they'll sometimes run something, you fight for every mention of the word God. And we just, I mean, with Roma, it's going to be the complete creative control that you always wanted, that will, I mean, you know, you see the Duck Dynasty family prays on TV. Why can't they do that on movies and in films?
What's the start date for that? When
we're looking at the end of 2017, so it'll be about a year from now or early into the next year. But I've already seen the pilot, and the pilot script rather, and it is amazing, and it's so much like the book.
Oh, that's so exciting.
So it's going to be fantastic.
That is wonderful. You spoke after the election at Liberty University, and speaking of moments of inspiration, you know, you bring a word of wisdom. What did you say to the student body there?
Well, I wasn't looking forward to that moment necessarily, because who knew who was going to win or that kind of thing. And, you know, obviously it's a very conservative university. I'm very conservative in my viewpoints and very pro-life. And you know, we didn't know. So I was praying and asking God to give me something that was inspirational. And he gave me this poem. And the poem had to do with the political landscape in Bethlehem at the time of Jesus' birth.
Wow. And
how there were factions and divisions and unfair taxes, and a king who was absolutely not pro-life. I mean, he was going to go on to kill babies because of Jesus. So very similar. And they wanted a leader to make Israel great again. And that wasn't, God took a look at what they needed, and he said, you know, it isn't going to end up being a king. It's going to be Christmas.
Wow. Wow. Mentioned also that this is National Adoption Month. You are an adoptive mom, and how has that changed your world?
Well, when you adopt, I think you set out to bless a child. You're going to try to help them, but as is always the case, children bless us. And our adopted kids have brought us everything from humor to a realization of the actual need. I mean, there's kids that are starving to death, so we're big fans of Compassion International now. Our family sponsors 16 kids through them, because, you know, it's just one of those things that the need is so great. One of our adopted boys, Sean, he lost a sister who was 3 years old who died of starvation. So they have blessed us beyond words. And I got a text this morning from Sean, and he said, "Hey, beautiful mom, I'm praying for you today." And it's just, you know, our family is so full and so rich, and we laugh. We have so much fun together. I can't imagine that they ever weren't part of our family.
All the better for it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I just want to remind people again, if you've read all 22 of the Baxter books, or if you're new to the series, you want to be sure to pick up a copy of A Baxter Family Christmas. Put this on your gift list for folks. They'll be inspired by it. Karen, thank you so much for being with us. It's always a treat to visit with you.
Thank you.
God bless you. Merry Christmas.
You too. Thank you so much, Jerry.